day, the sky felt angry. Rain pounded down on the empty suburban road, so cold it burned my skin. I only meant to drive home, to avoid the storm, when an image struck me so hard it stole my breath. Right there in the mud, a mother Doberman lay motionless, nothing but skin and bones. Her black and tan coat, once meant to shine, was reduced to wet, ragged patches clinging to her body like rags. Her belly was sunken, streaked with dried blood, a sign she had just endured a brutal birth. And beside her, 4 tiny lives trembled, huddled together, their mouths open in weak cries for help. Their voices were thin, breaking, each note cutting into my heart like a blade. They weren't crying from hunger. They were crying from fear. Because they knew the only warmth they had left, their mother's fading body, was slipping away in the freezing rain. Cars kept passing. Headlights flashed across the scene, lit it for a moment, then vanished into the storm. A sleek black SUV stopped for a few seconds. The man inside rolled down his window, pulled out his phone, and snapped a picture. He let out a bitter laugh. I heard him mutter, "Worthless mutts, waste of time." Then he rolled the window back up and sped away. A couple walked by. The woman covered her nose and turned her head. The man shook his head and muttered, "Not our problem." Their footsteps faded into the rain. I sat frozen behind the wheel, my eyes locked on that broken body. For a moment I saw the mother Doberman stir. Her eyes opened slightly, cloudy, filled with rain and blood, yet carrying something deeper. Not begging, not resentment. Just one silent, aching question. Does anyone still believe we deserve to live? My chest tightened. My breath came fast, as if someone had a grip on my throat. In my head, I could hear the cold voice of the world around me. Don't get involved. They won't make it. And then, I heard it. A small sound. One of the puppies, no bigger than my hand, was trying to crawl toward me. Its weak claws scraped against the wet pavement until it collapsed against my shoe, eyes squeezed shut, ribs heaving like they would burst. I couldn't take it anymore. I flung open the door and ran into the storm. Mud swallowed my ankles, splashing up my clothes. I dropped to my knees, my trembling hands reaching for the mother's body. She was nearly gone, her skin ice cold, her frame stiff and heavy. But from deep in her throat came a hoarse, broken whimper. Slowly, with great effort, her cloudy eyes turned toward me. She was still there, still fighting, just to keep her babies alive. A man's voice shouted from somewhere down the street. "Leave it! She's as good as dead. Let it be." I clenched my fists and lifted my head. No, she's not dead. And I'm not walking away. The man cursed under his breath and disappeared into the rain. I didn't care. I tore off my coat, wrapped it tight around the 4 tiny pups, and pressed them against my chest to shield them from the storm. Then I slipped my arms under the mother's body and lifted her. She was heavy, stiff as stone, yet I felt the faintest breath still inside her. In that moment, something remarkable happened. The mother Doberman shifted her head just slightly, her nose brushing against my shirt. Her half-closed eyes flickered, faint but certain, carrying a message I understood without words. "Please, don't abandon my children." I bent low and whispered back, "I hear you. I promise. I won't turn away." The rain kept pouring, but in my arms I held 4 trembling little lives and 1 dying mother. And I knew, no matter what it cost me, I had to get them out of there. That was the moment I realized. When the whole world looks away, sometimes all it takes is one person to stop. And that night, that person was me. I held the mother Doberman tight in my arms, her body cold and heavy like waterlogged wood. Under my coat, the four little ones pressed together, trembling. Rain hammered down so hard it burned my skin, but what hurt more than anything was the broken sound of her breathing against my ear. I could hear every breath she drew, weak, uneven, like a candle about to go out. I shivered, not knowing if it was from the cold or the fear of losing her right there in my arms. A beam of headlights cut across the storm. A pickup slowed, its window rolled down. A middle-aged man leaned out, frowning. "What are you doing?" "That dog's dead. Don't be foolish. Carry her and you'll just bring sickness on yourself." My voice cracked, rain and tears mingling as I answered, "She's not dead. I can't leave her." He snorted, shook his head. "She was dumped for a reason. Don't be stupid. Waste of time." The window slid back up, and the truck roared off, splashing mud across my face. I blinked it away and looked down. The mother's eyes had cracked open, cloudy and faint, yet searching for the four little ones nestled in my coat. Those eyes trembled, but I saw it. Something like a fragile faith still clinging to life. I bent low and whispered in her ear, "Don't be afraid. I won't abandon you. None of you will die alone tonight." I squared my shoulders and started running back toward my car. The mud was slick. I slipped, crashing hard into the ground. The mother nearly slipped from my arms. The pups screamed inside the soaked coat. I clenched my teeth, forced myself up, clutching them tighter than before. An old memory rushed into my head. As a boy, I had once seen a dog struck by a car, lying on the roadside. I stood frozen back then, too scared to go near. I watched it gasp its last breath until it went still. That guilt stayed with me all through my childhood. And now, standing in this storm, I knew I could never make that mistake again. I laid the mother and her pups across the back seat, covering them with an old blanket to keep out the rain. Their faint cries filled the car, drowning out the howl of the wind outside. My heart pounded as I turned the key. Just then, a woman passed by with an umbrella. She glanced inside, her face tightening. "Don't you see the danger?" "Worry about yourself first. Take those sick dogs with you. You're just asking for trouble." I looked her straight in the eye and said firmly, "They're not garbage. They're life. If I walk away, I'm no longer human." Her eyes widened, then she shook her head and walked off, leaving me in heavy silence. I gripped the wheel, and the car pushed forward into the wall of rain. Wind slammed against the sides, rocking the vehicle. In the rearview mirror, I saw the four pups curled into one another, shivering, eyes shut tight. The mother lay still, her head resting on the blanket, eyes half open as if fighting for every breath. I whispered, almost to myself, "Hold on. Don't give up. I'll get you to safety. I promise." The car skidded around a slick curve, my heart leaping into my throat. I clung to the wheel, breath ragged. In that moment, it struck me. I wasn't just carrying dogs. I was carrying a fragile miracle, a chance at life the world had already turned its back on. The rain kept beating down, heavy and merciless, but inside me, a quiet fire burned. From the moment I gathered them into my arms, I had chosen a path with no turning back. That night, in the heart of the storm, I was no longer just a passerby. I was their only hope. The wipers worked at full speed, but they couldn't cut through the wall of rain. My headlights carved into gray sheets of water, as if I were driving through a nightmare. Both my hands clamped tight on the wheel, sweat mixing with rain streaming down my face. In the back seat, the mother Doberman lay stretched across the bench, her head resting on an old blanket. The four little ones huddled inside my coat. Their faint whimpers rose and fell, blending with their mother's broken breathing. Each sound cut into my chest like a blade. "Don't leave me now. "Don't leave your babies," I whispered, eyes locked on the flooded road ahead. Then the engine sputtered. Warning lights flashed. The roar died into a weak hiss, then silence. My heart sank. The car went limp, coasting to a stop in the dark. Rain hammered the roof in deafening bursts, like a funeral drum. I slammed my fist against the wheel and cried out, "Dear God, not now. Don't take away their last chance." I twisted the key once, twice, only a harsh screech, then nothing. I bit down hard, the taste of blood filling my mouth. Cold sweat trickled down my spine. Behind me, the mother gave a sharp, strained gasp. I turned and saw her chest heaving fast, eyes half closed, legs trembling. The 4 little ones shrieked, their voices breaking, as if begging me to act. "No, don't give up. You trusted me. I won't betray you." I tried the key again, praying. The engine shuddered. A low growl, then silence. I closed my eyes, fighting tears, and just when I was about to surrender, a dry bang erupted. The car shook. The dash lights flared back to life. The engine roared awake like a beast shaken from sleep. I nearly broke down in relief. "Thank you. Oh, thank you." I gripped the wheel, slammed the gas. The car lurched forward, mud spraying like 1,000 hands clawing to drag us down. The road was rough. Every pothole jolted the mother's body. I reached a hand back, steadying her head. "Stay with me. Just a little longer. I promise we'll make it." Far ahead, a pair of headlights pierced the dark. A motorcycle surged past. The rider turned his head, eyes cold. He saw the lives in my car and sneered, shaking his head. Then his engine roared, leaving us behind in the storm. In that instant, the truth burned through me. The whole world could turn away, but I couldn't. Every minute behind the wheel stretched like a century. Rain hammered the roof, wind screamed outside, my heart thundered inside. I repeated the same words like a prayer. "It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. I swear I'll get you to safety." My eyes burned. I didn't know if I was praying for them or for myself. Maybe both. Then, through the chaos, a flicker of hope. A roadside sign blurred in the rain. Veterinary clinic, 2 miles. I almost shouted with joy, but before relief could settle, a long, low moan rose from the back seat. I turned. The mother's head slumped, her eyes rolling away as if letting go. "No! Don't close your eyes! Look at me!" Driving with one hand, I reached back and brushed her muzzle. Ice spread across my fingers, and then she stirred. Her heavy eyelids opened, cloudy but fierce, locking on me with stubborn light. "That's it. Stay with me." Just a little longer, I pressed the gas harder, my heart exploding in my chest. The pups began crying louder, calling for their mother. Their cries filled the car, drowning even the thunder outside. The rain kept pounding. The road stretched endlessly. But in that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. I had 4 tiny lives and one mother fighting with everything left in her. And no matter how drained I was, I would fight beside them. That night, I drove as though I were racing death itself. And with every heartbeat of that mother Doberman, one truth hammered inside me. I was not allowed to lose. The sign "Veterinary Clinic, 2 miles" flickered through the rain, and my chest surged with hope. I gripped the wheel tighter, pressed harder on the gas, whispering over and over, "Come on, just 2 more miles. We're almost there." The narrow road into town was flooded, yellow street lamps casting a dim glow over pools of muddy water. I slammed the brakes in front of a white building with a sign that read, 24/7 Veterinary Care. My heart pounded.
Carrying the mother Doberman and her 4 pups, I rushed to the porch, pounding on the door with everything I had. No answer. I banged harder, shouting over the storm, "Is anyone there? Please, open up. She's still breathing, and her 4 babies need her." A shadow moved behind the fogged glass. Relief shot through me, until the door cracked open just a few inches and a man's cold voice spilled out. "Hours are over. No doctor here tonight. Take it somewhere else," I froze. Rain and tears streamed together down my face. I begged, voice breaking, "Please, just look. She's still alive. I'll pay, whatever it takes. Just give her a chance." The door slammed shut. Only the pounding rain remained. I turned back, looking down at my arms. The mother Doberman was gasping faintly, her eyes nearly closed. The 4 little ones cried hoarsely. My chest felt like it was being crushed. I gathered them up and stumbled back to the car, driving off again. Another clinic appeared. I knocked. Silence. Another place. Still dark. Still empty. Despair washed over me. I slumped forward, resting my forehead on the steering wheel, muttering, "Lord, please, don't let them die in my hands. Don't make them suffer like this." Then, unbidden, I saw her eyes again. The mother's eyes in the storm earlier. Eyes that hadn't begged for herself, but for her pups. That look dragged me back up. I couldn't stop. I pulled out my phone, scrolling frantically through old numbers, and dialed a line I'd saved long ago when helping a friend repair his kennel. A tired elderly woman's voice answered. "Who's calling at this hour?" "It's the middle of the night." My throat tightened. "Please, ma'am. I'm holding a mother Doberman, badly injured. She just gave birth. She's lost so much blood. Her 4 babies are alive, but they won't last without her. I'm begging you, don't turn me away." The line went quiet. I heard her sigh, then her voice came steady, deliberate. "Red Gate, 46 Willow Street. Knock 3 times. Bring them now. Don't be late." I exhaled sharply, nearly sobbing. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me." I drove through the storm, my heart thundering. When I reached it, I saw an old brick house, its red gate glowing in the darkness. I leapt from the car, clutching the dogs, and knocked 3 times as instructed. The door opened. A woman with snow-white hair and a deeply lined face stood waiting. Her eyes, sharp and bright, fixed on me. She wore a worn robe, her rough hands reaching out. "Give her to me." Quickly, I placed the mother Doberman in her arms. The 4 little ones still lay bundled in my coat, whimpering. She glanced at them and nodded firmly. "They're still breathing." Then we fight. In an instant, her modest living room became an emergency ward. A wooden table was covered with a white sheet. A yellow lamp overhead swayed, casting trembling light over the bruises and blood spread across the mother's abdomen. She laid the dog down gently, whispering as if to an old friend, "Hold on, girl. Tonight is not the end." I stood there, chest heaving, my hands clutching the 4 tiny lives. And for the first time in this endless night, I saw a real light. Not from street lamps, but from the determination of a stranger willing to save what the whole world had already abandoned. The yellow lamp hanging from the ceiling swayed in the draft, casting light over the wasted body of the mother Doberman. Helen pulled on her gloves, her wrinkled but steady hands moving quickly across a tray of worn tools. I stood close, clutching the 4 little ones to my chest. Their broken cries rose in intervals, each one cutting into me like a knife. I set the pups down in a box lined with an old towel, then turned back to cradle the mother's head. Her breath was rough and shallow, like the dying whistle of wind through a flute. Her eyes fluttered, trying weakly to open. I whispered, "Do you hear me? Don't leave. I'm here. They're here too." Helen examined the wounds, shaking her head. Broken ribs, heavy blood loss. I'll stitch her, but you must be prepared. No, you save her. I won't allow anyone to give up tonight. She glanced at me, surprised, then nodded once. Then hold her steady. Don't let her slip away. The heart monitor beeped, beeped, then slowed. I felt her body grow heavier in my arms. Panic seized me. No, no! Breathe! For your babies, breathe! Blood spread crimson across the white sheet. Helen slid in an IV, her hands trembling but her eyes sharp as steel. Her heart is failing. Talk to her. Give her a reason to stay. I leaned close, my lips nearly brushing her ear. Look at me. I promise I'll care for your little ones, but you must be here to see them grow. Don't leave them. Don't leave me. Her heavy eyelids trembled. A faint whimper escaped her throat. I gripped her paw tighter. That's it. Stay with us. Just a little longer. Suddenly, the monitor flattened. A single piercing tone filled the room. I froze in shock. No! Don't do this to us! I screamed, my eyes flooding. Helen's frail hands pressed against her chest, pumping hard. 1, 2, 3. Her breath came sharp and ragged. Don't give up, girl. Not tonight. I pressed my forehead to her muzzle, tears pouring down. If you hear me, come back. Your babies are calling you, and then, like a miracle, the screen spiked. Beep, beep. Faint, but alive. I cried out, shaking, my hand pressed against her chest. Yes, that's it. I knew you wouldn't quit. Helen stitched the wound, her eyes blazing with focus, her voice caught in her throat. She chose to stay. You see, that's a mother's love, stronger than death itself. I nodded over and over, tears mixing with sweat. I held the mother's paw, never looking away. Her cloudy eyes blinked open, weak but fixed on me. That look told me she knew. I had been there, fighting with her. The bleeding slowed. The wound was closed. The fourth dripped steadily. Her heartbeat wavered but grew stronger. In the box, the pups whimpered softly, crawling over one another. I reached down, brushing each tiny body. You're doing so well. She's still here. Hold on. We haven't lost. Helen pulled off her gloves, collapsed into a chair, breathing hard. I've done all I can. The rest is her fight. But I believe she wants to live. I squeezed the mother's paw and whispered, so do we. Outside, the rain still pounded. But in that small room, I felt something shift. A fragile flame, trembling yet bright, had been lit in the darkness, and that flame had a name, Hope. The night had felt endless, but at last the first light slipped through the small window. Raindrops clung to the glass, reflecting into pale yellow streaks. Helen's room was quiet, filled only with the steady drip of the IV and the faint breaths rising from the wooden table where the mother Doberman lay. I sat slumped on the floor, my back against the wall, my head resting on my knees. I hadn't closed my eyes all night. In the cardboard box lined with an old towel, the 4 pups were curled tightly together, sleeping hard after hours of crying. Now and then, one let out a tiny whimper, its paw twitching as if dreaming of its mother's warmth. I turned to look at her. Her chest still rose and fell, slow but steadier than when we'd first carried her in. Her once-soaked coat was dry now beneath the heavy blanket Helen had laid across her. Neat stitches marked her belly, evidence of her battle with death. My throat tightened as I reached out, my trembling hand brushing her bony paw. Cold, but not the icy cold it had been before. Then something made me freeze. Her heavy eyelids quivered. I held my breath. Slowly, her clouded eyes opened. Weary, yes, but fixed right on me. My body went rigid. My voice cracked out like a child's. "Dear God, you opened your eyes." She didn't cry, didn't whimper, just blinked once. A silent answer. I pressed my hand to her forehead, tears spilling down. "I told you I wouldn't give up." "And you didn't give up on me either." Helen stepped out from the kitchen, a steaming cup of coffee in her hand. She caught sight of the mother's gaze, stopped, and smiled gently. "You see? She knows. Animals don't need words. Their eyes say everything." I nodded, too choked to speak. Just then, the 4 little ones began to stir in their box. The smallest clambered forward, whimpering. I lifted them and laid them beside their mother. The scent of milk, mingled with blood, drew them in. She struggled to lift her head, trembling but resolute, shifting her body to bare her belly. The sight broke me. Small, steady suckling sounds filled the room, 4 fragile lives finding their source again. I saw her eyes glisten. A single clear tear slipped down into her rough, black and tan fur. I whispered, almost to myself, "She's crying, but not from pain." She knows they've been saved. The whole room seemed changed. Only last night, it had been a battlefield between life and death. Now it felt like the home of a small family. Every sound, the rain outside, the drip of the IV, the steady breathing, carried a shade of hope. I leaned closer, pressing my forehead to hers. She blinked once more, her muzzle nudging against my hand. Such a small gesture, yet I understood it completely. She couldn't speak, but in her eyes I heard the word, "Thank you." Helen's hand rested gently on my shoulder, her voice low and warm. "Do you know why she chose to stay? Not for herself, for those 4. That's a mother's love. Stronger than death." I looked from the pups back to her. My tears came fast. "And tonight, she taught me the same truth. As long as someone needs you, you're not allowed to let go." Outside, the rain began to ease. Dawn spread golden light across the little room. For the first time after a night full of darkness, my heart felt light. We had won the first round. Weeks have passed since that fateful night in the storm. Helen's little house with its faded red gate no longer feels like the shadowed place I first arrived at. Every morning, sunlight filters through the windows, spilling onto the wooden floor where the Doberman pups race around like tiny black and tan arrows. Their paws clatter against the boards, their bright barks echoing through the rooms, turning a space once filled with the smell of blood and antiseptic into a home bursting with life. Their mother has changed in ways I still can't believe. The night I carried her in my arms, she was nothing but skin and bone, her cloudy eyes nearly gone. Now, though the scar still runs across her belly, she stands steady on thin but strong legs. Her black and tan coat gleams in the morning sun. That tail, once lifeless, now gives the faintest wag every time she sees me walk through the door. That morning, I sat on the porch steps, a hot cup of coffee in my hand, my throat tightening as I watched the sight before me. The 4 little ones nestled against their mother, burying their heads in her belly, then lifting their eyes toward me as if to say, "We're alive because of you." I set the cup down and reached to touch her head. She didn't pull away. Instead, she pressed her muzzle into my palm, her eyes clear, deeper than any words could be. In that moment, I knew she understood. She knew I had carried her through the storm, had begged at closed doors, had prayed through tears when her heart stopped. She knew, and she was thanking me in the only way a quiet soul could. I whispered, voice shaking, "You saved me too. I thought I pulled you back from death, but really, you taught me what it means never to give up." Helen stood in the doorway, her hands braced on the frame, her face lined but her eyes kind. She said softly, "You see, sometimes we think we save an animal, but what they really do is save the part of us that had been lost." I turned to her, tears streaming freely. The pups clambered around my feet, tugging at my laces as if they had never known cold, hunger, or the nearness of death. The sight was so beautiful, I almost didn't dare blink, afraid it would vanish like a dream. That afternoon, I brought them back to the suburban road where it all began. The storm of that night had long passed, replaced by golden sunlight stretching across leftover puddles. I stopped the car, opened the door, and let their mother step down. She inhaled deeply, lifted her head high, scanning the place before turning her gaze back to me. I sat by the roadside, where I had first found her lying in blood and mud. My heart ached as the memory returned. But instead of cold despair, I felt warmth. The warmth of her pups pawing at my hands, and of their mother pressing her muzzle against my shoulder. I placed a small wooden sign there, carved with the words, "Every life deserves a chance. Never turn away." The evening wind stirred it gently, like a whispering reminder. I looked back at them, my chest filled with a faith stronger than I had ever known. I knew there were still countless lives out there, abandoned, dismissed, considered worthless. But that stormy night had taught me this. Sometimes one pause, one outstretched hand, can change the whole world. I gathered the pups into my arms and leaned close to their mother, whispering, "We won, didn't we? Not just against death, but against indifference." She blinked, and a single tear glistened at the corner of her eye, catching the late sun. And I knew it was the most beautiful thank you I had ever received. Sometimes, when I sit in the quiet and think back to that night, I wonder, if I had walked away, those 4 little lives wouldn't exist, and those grateful eyes would never have opened again. Have you ever saved a dog's life? If you have, share your story in the comments below. Because every one of those stories doesn't just save a single creature, it lights a flame of belief in thousands of hearts, reminding us love still exists. Please, don't let dogs be left trembling in the cold, their cries unheard. They cannot speak, but they understand everything. And sometimes, one look, one hand reaching out, is enough to change their whole world. If you believe, like I do, that no soul deserves to be left in darkness, then join me in spreading kindness. Subscribe to this channel, so every story we share becomes another flame, warming the lives of those small, fragile beings out there. Because love is never too late, and sometimes one decision to stop can create a miracle.